Hey, my name is Aaron Duchateau, and I'd like to introduce lothopper. Fundamentally, lothopper delivers a UI-first approach for consuming and navigating county tax lot data and the assessor data that often comes with that in a county-agnostic way. So what is tax lot data and why is it important? Tax lot data fundamentally is just sort of like the final record in who owns what property in the United States. Common attributes of this are going to be spatial data that represent the bounds of the property, owner information, and other common assessor information. It's important to note that this data is maintained at the county level, and there isn't really any overarching federal authority or anything like that that sort of mandates the way that this data is managed. So because of that, a lot of people try to come up with solutions to make this data more accessible, but oftentimes they don't do a very good job, or it ends up not being presented in a way that your organization may need. It's also important to note that this data isn't standardized, meaning if you get an export of this data from one county, it isn't necessarily going to be the same as an export from another county in terms of the way that the data is laid out and structured. This information is important because it's kind of what creates the foundation for the dialogue about what it means to exchange or analyze property, and that obviously has serious implications in any software that might deal in this space. So in terms of the software marketplace, what kind of people or organizations are using this data? Well, real estate is obviously a big number one. We've got title companies, real estate agents, individuals doing their own research. And I also have a beta user right now who's a timber purchaser. In the mortgage refinance space, you've got individuals vetting lead lists, checking out assessed value of properties in relationship to those lead lists. And you've got insurance, home and liability, things of that nature. And the list kind of goes on because, like I stated earlier, this information is kind of like the backbone of property data online. So obviously I'm not the first person to realize that this data is valuable or could be monetized or whatever. But what was interesting to me as I evaluated the competitive landscape was that the current solutions usually fell into two broad categories. The first is the big data approach. And with that, you've basically got data wholesalers who are trying to aggregate all of this data from the counties, and that has its own pitfalls because you often don't know when the data was aggregated, and it also lacks details that are necessary to the team of the industry in question. Also, when you bulk purchase this data, this spatial data, you're going to need a GIS team to, parse it and analyze it and do queries on your behalf. So right there, that automatically adds some overhead. You've also got Zillow, which sort of has a very specific focus. It's not a very targeted UI, and it isn't really going to give industries access to query in the way they need to, or to get reporting back from this data in the way that they need to. And also a lot of their data is often based off of user-generated content, so we sort of end up in an authenticity problem like I stated earlier. Google Earth recently released a parcel feature of some kind. My experience with it is that it's been incomplete, and also it comes down to usability. The format of Google Earth isn't necessarily what you want your frontline salespeople or refi people using every day. Now, the other approach right now is generally provided directly by the counties, and the counties themselves try to do a good job of building out their own user interfaces, their own websites for navigating this data. But the reality is a lot of the teams who end up building this stuff aren't necessarily web development people, they're not UI people, and they're generally a GIS department just sort of trying to throw something up that's going to be usable for people in a very general way. So either way, whether you're going from the ground up with the counties and whatever resources they're providing, which may or may not be present, or with the big data providers, it seems as though there's really nothing in the middle. Additionally, if your need is to have industry-specific formatting or reporting, obviously that isn't going to be provided by either of these solutions mentioned. So getting back to lothopper, my product, and what I'm trying to accomplish with it, really what it comes down to is I feel as though there's a sweet spot right now to basically make this data accessible in an industry-specific way. And I kind of decided that that started with a basic UI. Because all of this data is consistent enough, we generally know the types of things that we're going to be searching for, even if the data formats in counties are respectively different, and we can call them things. So, as I mentioned, my interface can consume tax lot data from any county, slurp it up into my system, and what I've done is I've created basically a very clean and specific UI that, in my opinion, is superior to anything else I've seen for people on the ground working with this data who want to be able to access it fast. And even though complex spatial queries might be happening behind the scenes, they won't know that that's happening. All they will see is the end result that they were trying to get without visiting a bunch of different county websites and learning all of the UIs for those, or without mucking around with Zillow, given that they're actually not necessarily trying to buy a home. They might be doing research. So I kind of just eliminated all of the BS around what it really means to analyze this data and to come to fruition with a search result in the context of this data. Now, what I'm not trying to do is be another big data provider, be another Zillow, or be just another county website. I think the idea behind lothopper, and people ask me if lothopper is my brand, and the answer is yeah, but really lothopper is more of an idea. Lothopper is a foundation or a core feature set, if you will, and that core feature set can be easily deployed to specific industries, and without mucking around with a bunch of custom data integration or scaling or any of the concerns that come with that, we really could have industry-specific personifications of this product that are slightly tailored with modules to give an end result in terms of reporting and data fruition that is industry-specific, without all of the work that organically comes with fresh, out-of-the-box custom software development. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, my name's Aaron Duchateau, and if you'd like to get involved in what I'm doing, or you have any questions for me, or potentially have any ideas of someone who uses this data who could benefit from what I've created, please don't hesitate to get in touch with the details provided on the slide that you're looking at right now.